So, yeah, since last time, I've been hit by a truck
Yeah.
and got my leg snapped completely in half.
Yeah.
I've been recovering from that. My health took a big hit, but I'm on the upswing now, you know?
Good lady.
And, I really just want to talk about, like, a lot of people in recovery or anger management or these types of things, I think they focus too much on like killing that thing that pushed you to do this destructive behaviors. And for one, it's really hard to do that if you can do that. It's not impossible, people can. Mm-hmm. But if you do that, that's your drive, that's your motivation, It's more of like integrating that with your life, harnessing that energy and using it for what you need to use it for.
Yeah.
That's where you get your power from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, I've been thinking a lot more about that, not just cutting that off completely, because that's not healthy either, It's integrating in a healthy way and like using that energy that caused us to run down those destructive roads. It's the same energy.
Yeah.
But it's focusing. It's like acknowledging it, not letting it run wild and take over and then, run your life, but like using it.
Yeah, because honestly, like you made a good point, man. You can't, like, fear.
Yeah.
You can't just kill the fear. That's innately what makes you, it's a human nature, the human condition, you know, things of that. But it's like, what did that fear drive you to do? What path did it take? All right, because you're going to be scared or afraid to do things. Yeah. And I say fear, I'm not saying fear of harm. I'm just saying
in general.
Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of whatever it is, the fear of whatever, you know, because me and Chase talk about it, like in the business, man, it's like the fear of failure will drive me into like anxiety ridden where I'm like, but that instead of driving it to anxiety, driving it to, I'm like, all right, Chase, look, everybody, everything's sitting down, bro. Yeah. And we're going to come up with a plan, and we're going to execute this plan. You know, when things are slow, when people are telling you no, and whatever it is, we're going to keep doing this thing.
Right. And then it's like you got to mess it. Like it's that fear of like, oh, I'm going to mess up, and it's like getting the mess up.
You are going to mess up. Right. Yeah, you are going to mess up.
Getting the mess up done so you can move forward and be successful at it.
Yeah, it is, man.
But it's more than that too. It's like that I don't know, FOMO, that want to like go out and do things, you know what I mean? Like that.
I struggle with that. Yeah. Sitting and resting, man. Me and Chase again, man, we have these conversations a lot. But it's like we always feel like we need to be doing something. There's always something like, hey, if we're not putting out estimates or we're not putting out podcasts, then we're not doing enough. We can do more. Yeah. We can do it better. And it's like this constantly sharpening of a sword. And sometimes everybody, like, you need to lean into those, that, I say nothingness, man, but when you don't have to figure it all out right now. You don't always have to be working. I know society and social media and people are like, you got to work 15, 17 hours a day for 27 years. Yeah. And you can have, I'm like, man, it's not always like that, though. No. There are times when you do have to do that. Right. You are working that much. And I've been there. You've been there. We've all been there. But in those times of, I don't know, when it's down a little bit, instead of saying like, oh, we didn't have a chance to go golfing or hang out or go hiking, taking those times out of our lives instead of focusing on making money or growing a business, man. And that's just, to me, that's just as crucial as taking those times for yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you come back, you're able to devote all your focus to it. You have like a different perspective. You know?
It's like a treat. You treat yourself, man. That's what people don't understand. Is like you have to. Sometimes, people are like, oh, like I had a conversation with this person the other day, and they're like, well, I work for very rich people, and they don't ever take time to go golf and da da da, and it's their personal assistant.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why they hired you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they don't have time to do all those things because all they're chasing is money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what fuels them.
Yeah.
And that's not what fuels everybody.
No.
Like I think me and Chris are on the same level of like we want a company here's the thing where I've been thinking about. I was thinking about it last night. Is the definition of my success. I want to be happy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but also like I told you this earlier, like when we have employees, man, I want them to generally be happy.
Right.
You can't be happy all the time. I know that, but I'm saying like, how do you make these people that work for you enjoy what they do?
Right.
They're not going to all the time, but you can at least let it suck a little less because you can take care of those people and things like that. Because ultimately, that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? People would think just owning a business is like, no, man, that's like you're creating people's livelihood. You know what I mean? And like you can't. We discussed this too. Is like we're not just gonna, like when we have employees. You know, there's certain times like we can't just like let you go. But like if your work's done, things are done, like. The checklist is hit, man. Yeah. Go enjoy time with your family.
Right.
You know
or whatever you like doing.
Yeah, you don't like, oh, we got another job that you can go do. Yeah. But like, take the day, man. We can do it tomorrow.
Right. Not working just for the sake of working.
And that's the point we're trying to make.
And it's like that over busyness, you know, it doesn't allow you to feel like anything. You're always going. It's almost like in the form of escape in itself.
Yeah, it is.
It's workaholism is what it is.
And it's not good for you or the people that you work with, really.
And it's like to feel needed, to feel like, oh, I have a purpose. And you can go down that thought path of I'm working hard because this is my purpose. But then that itself, like you said, becomes an obsession.
Right.
And when you do have those times of steel, you feel like shameful.
Yeah. You freak out.
You freak out because you don't know what to do, man.
Yeah.
You know? And you're getting us in? yeah. But I'm just saying, like it breeds a mindset of when you do slow down, instead of, I'm not saying peace, because you're not always going to be at peace, but of stillness to catch up on things that you've, I won't say neglected, but I don't know, like cleaning the house, going to your mom's house and eating lunch with them, hollering at your brother, whatever those things are, going golfing with your buddies, going hiking. Hey, we're taking this week off. I don't care, dude. Yeah. And we're not even worrying about work. But it's allowing you to refocus, because when you come back, you're rested, you're energized.
Yeah.
You have a new perspective. Because look, man, everybody gets burnt out, dude.
Yeah.
You get burnt out. I don't care what anybody says, dude.
Well, it's like the old adage of the woodcutter. You know, there's two woodcutters, and they're both working. You know, they have an 8-hour day. One woodcutter cuts wood the whole 8 hours, and he gets a certain amount of wood. The other one cuts wood for 3 hours, then takes an hour break, comes back, cuts for another 4, and cuts just a little bit more wood than the other guy. And he's like, how do you do that? And he said, well, for that hour, I go and sharpen my axe.
Yeah.
You know? Sometimes you got to
I eat something, I drink something, you
right.
know. And there really is, I guess, in the American culture, that's all I can really speak of, because hence we're American, but it is like the hustle, the grind, the come up. And I think that's a beautiful
thing.
That's the beautiful thing of America, of the hustle. Man, you want it, you can have this life for you and your family that you necessarily cannot have anywhere else. But you see it so much, they get caught up in that, and they all they want to do is buy a bigger box for their family.
Right.
Another motor vehicle that's nicer. And it's not about, the hustle was for you to spend more time with your family,
and enjoy your life,
and provide for them.
Yeah,
I don't have to have $65 million and flown private jets to enjoy my life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But if that comes, that's okay too.
Yeah, I'm not saying any of that, but I'm saying just because you're not at that level, then does not innately make you a failure or like you're not doing something right. The whole part of the grind and the hustle is to get a point where you're taking care of yourself, your family.
Yeah.
To be able to like invest in them now.
Right.
You know, and grow this.
Yeah.
It's not just about you and material things, a number in a bank account.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's not what it's about, man.
Yeah, and that's like the toxic part of hustle culture, which is huge in America, is that like I'm just gonna keep going and keep going.
Yeah. More.
Yeah.
And that's an addict.
Yeah.
But that's just the human fallibility, I guess, is what I'm saying. It's like we're never satisfied. Because I promise you, ask any millionaire, and we got millionaire friends. I'm not saying, I say that humbly, but it's like when I get to $1 million of gross revenue for this year, you know, we're gonna be okay. And then that's not enough. They're like, man, we got to get to 10.
Right.
And now these guys are worth $62 million, and they're 74 years old, and they've got 6 different wives or ex-wives, and they have all this money, and they have all these things, but the dude is freaking miserable, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Not appreciating.
know? And I mean, he'll look at you and like, man, I wish I could go back and do these things. Because like it comes with a cost, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that cost is all the time, but I'm just saying, looking at other people and like observing, because you always think I'm different than that. Yeah. Oh, I'm different. I'll do it different than them. Yeah. You know, I'm not the same as them. But like, yes, you are, man. When it comes, you know what I mean? Like you got, and that's what I'm saying is that when everybody has good intentions to do these things, right? And when life happens, payroll, you start having to pay people, and you're busy, and all this other things happen in your life, it starts to harden you, but not in the good way. It hardens you in a resilience way. It does do that part of it, but like, I don't know, like you start stealing time away from your family. Like, oh, I got to work on the business. Like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't, bro.
Now it's like, you know, it's better to have that than apathy. You know what I mean?
They know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you have to balance it out. But what I wanted to touch on more is like, sometimes like with the addict mentality, like you have this like spirit inside of you that's just wants to freaking go out there and just, you know, do something, you know, and like drugs help quiet that.
Yeah.
And then in recovery, a lot of people want to even quiet that through their mind power, but it's like you have to use that drive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you're never, to me, like you were talking about, is that you're never going to completely stop that voice or that feeling. You know, that's a good thing in a sense of.
Yeah, you have to harness it.
And it's very difficult at times because if it's fed the wrong things, it's gone.
If it takes over, it's going to destroy your life.
And even if it's fed the right things, it can take those, you know, like, I don't know, you take church or it'll take that and then become obsessed over that one thing. Even though it's a quote unquote good, like working out, eating right. Right. Those are good things, but you can take that and it will just distort it. Yeah. And that's just it's constantly a war with that. Right. For me, I can't say about y'all. Yeah. You know, it's constantly a war about like, oh, I need to rest. Well, then I chill out I just need to chill out for a day or two. I ended up like, my mind was like, man, just chill out like for a week or so. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm like, no, it's not. That's not okay. Yeah. It's okay for me to take a day or two off mentally and just kind of recover my body. Yeah. But like that starts bleeding in, and that'll bleed into other parts of your life. Yeah. You know, and that's what I'm saying. You got to kill that, or I have to kill that now. Right. You know, like, hey, if I say I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Even though I do have time the rest of the week to do it some other time. Yeah. No, this is what I said I want to do. I want to do it, you know? Yeah. And it's like keeping those promises to myself. Yeah. You know? That's really important. Because how am I going to keep a promise to somebody else if I can't even like stand up for what I tell myself? You got to keep your promises to yourself. Because, I mean, it's really important. You know?
Yeah.
the universe will act. The universe always acts in our favor. You know, we just sometimes don't know what we're attracting to ourselves.
Well, it'll act in our favor when we think it's punishment, but like, no, this ain't, like, this is refinement.
Right.
You know, like when somebody gets sent to hell, for example, you know, like, hey, this ain't a this is to burn away everything that has kind of been holding you back, man. It's hot. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, you're taking a beating at times. But it is to refine you, to melt these things away. Because as you start rising back up, and I say hell figuratively, you know, like an addiction or any other situation in your life, mental health or situation, it's like when you start rising back up, out those old things that took you to that place are starting to be melted away.
Yeah.
And, you know, the sucky thing is if you don't constantly battle, they will reattach. They will come back.
Yeah.
You know, it's constant maintenance and it's a drag. It's boring, you know, but it's just a part of life, like maintaining your life, like maintenance on a vehicle. It sucks, pain in the tail, whatever else like that. But it beats the cost of tearing up the whole car.
Yeah.
And you have to take that whole to your life.
Yeah. And that destructive energy, it's like denying that it's a part of you or completely destroying it. You know, you turn to this like listless, you know, lost soul that has no passion in life anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, obviously we need to control it. You know, it would be better to not have it than not control it and let it run wild because you're going to destroy your life. But like at the same time, we have to integrate it. We have to become one with it and use its energy for what we want to use it for.
Yeah. And that's it's
tough. You know,
well, no, but I don't think any human being is. I mean, that's. And I'm not trying to delve off into this, but it's just you see that in Western religions through Jesus, through Muhammad. You see that in our Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
You know, and then you see it in Eastern religion, and they're all Eastern. It's yin and yang. It's it's Zen. It's Nirvana. It's achieving that perfect balance between those, and I think that's what. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is what you're saying? Like bad things are always going to be there. Good things are always going to be there, and the good. Man, this is going to sound crazy. There's always an opposite force to everything, and somehow I don't know how the universe does it. It's always pretty much equal.
Yeah.
Like you'll see runs of bad, but then the good will push.
Yeah.
Boom, good always, but there's always maintains that balance.
Right.
You know. And
you have to acknowledge that balance in yourself. And not just pretend that we're all yin or whatever. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, you know, just using that energy because that's where you get your drive. That's where you get your passions from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about earlier, like the feeling, you know, that people try to get away from and escape from, whether it's work or gym or whatever, like that's part of the first turning of the Dharma is like sitting with that feeling you try to get away from all day long, you know, and accepting it.
Yeah.
And being a part of it, you know what I mean?
And it's a part of it. And, you know, Chase and I, we facilitate a class at the Foundry, and a lot of the time that's, you know, we do have the privilege of being in these guys' lives that are 3 months or more sober, right? So, not saying we have it together, but they're still early in recovery.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of fresh of what they're running, you know, or why they used.
Yeah.
Right? And I know, like, you know how it is when you're stripped naked like that?
Yeah.
You know, you have nothing to run to, and you're having to sit with those feelings now.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not trying to say beat yourself up,
but
it's good for you to feel that now.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to have to start coping with it. If you're really serious about recovery, man, you're going to have to feel these uncomfortable things.
Yes.
Because
you have to feel your feelings.
I hate that they, in recovery or anything, that they just preach or they teach or they say words that it's going to be okay. Like, it's, oh man, you'll get through it, and they just make it seem like it's a walk in the park. Like, no, bro, like you have to go to battle with these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like do real battle, real work within yourself and you're never going to necessarily conquer them.
Right.
You're going to learn yourself better, your addiction better, to better cope with it, to maintain that balance, if you will.
And a lot, like you said, a lot of people focus on just chopping that part of you off.
Yeah.
First of all, it's extremely hard to do that. And if you do that, you lose a very important part of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think in a sense, people, they chop that, they want to bury it.
Right.
But I don't think you can't ever get rid of that.
No.
You can never get rid of it.
It's a part of you, and accepting that.
Yes, accepting that as a part of you. Because whether, we've all been to, or in situations in our life that got us to a point, and people that don't have that addiction or whatever, they can't really. But I promise, the addiction manifested in our lives where they're the same person. It's manifesting somewhere else in their life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we're human beings.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm different than you. This got a hold of me and it ran. And I let it do it. You know what I mean? It ran up. But in your life, it might be, I don't know, work. You might be a super successful lawyer, buddy. And I'm not and the world looks at you, society looks at you as I don't know, top of the food chain or whatever word you want to put in there. But like, in a sense, you sold your soul to that. Mm-hmm. You spent 16-hour days for 22 years to become that. That's how it manifests in your life. We chose alcohol.
Right.
Or drugs, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same, what I'm saying, it's the same thing. It's just like different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Different, I say, outcomes of that. But how do we, and that's I believe we'll never have the answer to it, or we'll never fully understand it. But that's just the condition of humans, the human conditions, the fallibility of us. The human nature is, we never, as much as we try, we look at like the messianic religions or the self-help religions or, the God in ourselves, the God in the universe. Those are perfect portrayals of what we're trying to be ultimately, right? But when we are born into this world, we are innately scarred in a sense of that we can never become that, right? But it is our duty as human beings to get as close as that as we can, right?
Well, I think a lot of like modern Western religion has perverted a lot of the teachings of Scripture. Like Jesus said that we would go beyond what he did.
Yeah.
And like we get preached to us a lot that we'll never live up to that. But I mean, that's directly against Scripture.
Yeah.
So it's like he set everything up so we can do what he did and more. Like those are his words. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I feel like a lot of Western religion perverts these things, and for political reasons or for money reasons, a lot of money gets lost on the way to God. You know what I mean?
Or made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, or made. It's like there's certain things, and you got to be careful about what you're actually worshiping. Are we worshiping, financial success and prosperity in that sense? Obviously prosperity is supposed to come with things, but it's like there's just it's you got to be careful for real. Because you can get lost in some sort of, self-righteous, pious like nonsense for real, and like avoiding doing any real work or being a part of your community and isolating yourself, in your little groups and all these things. And it's like none of that is actually what is what's being said. Yeah, for real. So
me and Chase had this conversation, and but if you're watching this, do not take this as a knock at it, you know. But we have the privilege of through this podcast and just being in kind of the scene we're in to see a lot of different perspectives, or groups of thought, and like denominations, Church of Christ, Catholicism, Muslim, dark, whatever it is, man. Just throw X out there. To me, it's like they're fighting for. I guess your attention and everything, but ultimately, I'm like, man, it's not a saying like they're wrong, I'm right, follow me. It's
Right.
like at the end of the day, we're trying to help people
Right.
out of these horrid situations. Not that we're there yet,
Right.
but we've been there and we want to help others out. So for me to say, buddy, Buddhism, Dharma is wrong. Everything you're doing is wrong because you don't do the things
Right.
I think in the way I do them.
Yeah, and to have almost like 1% of an understanding of any of that.
Yes, but I'm just saying of that. There's like these groups of thought, and I say denominations within Christianity, and they're in other religious things as well.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, we know the true way. We are the
Right.
most correct in our thinking,
Right.
and if you don't do it this way, then you're not going to get X amount of price or whatever you're
Right.
trying to go to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think, and I don't have it right, but I'm just like, I've gotten to observe these things and this behavior, and being in it myself is like, man, like I don't care what you are. I just like was in a shitty place, bro, and I needed help, and I don't, help me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't preach to me. Like right now, I don't care about any of that. Like,
Right.
help me, man.
Right. Yeah.
And that's ultimately from the place in your heart is like, these people, like, someone's hurting and they're asking for help. They're reaching out for help. Like, buddy, I'm just going to reach down and help you, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Show some humanity.
so humanity. And if whatever you want to do, this is what I identify with, and how I relate to things is through the Christianity, right?
Right.
But you can, whatever, resonates with your soul and your path
Right.
and your situation, buddy, I'm all for it.
Well, in the West especially, it's like that's the iconography that we understand. you
Yeah.
know? So to like relearn, it's like relearning a whole nother language to learn a different religion. A lot of times people do that, or like run to, like from the West, they'll run to Buddhism or whatever, and it's, once again, you're just kind of running away from the lessons so you can misinterpret them how you feel like misinterpreting them.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's better or worse. I'm just saying like there's things to be learned from all of these.
Absolutely. Because ultimately, and I think we might have talked about this before, is, again, I'm not a theologian and I'm not an evangelist. I'm not some studied
Yeah.
professor. It's just experience in life, and I say it fortunately, but through unfortunate circumstances, we have got to learn these things, right? But they're all trying to go to the same place, man.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, our understanding is, and as Americans, like, we need to run towards what we understand better, because we're going to get further in that.
Yeah.
In a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
Than going over and trying to learn, the Hindi philosophy or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what it really is, the difference is, it's like top down. Like, we follow God, and then everything else is going to work out.
Yeah.
The other way, it's like you find God in yourself.
Mm-hmm. You got to go to hell
and then connect.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You have to go deconstruct.
Well, I'm talking about, like, let's say Eastern philosophy.
Yeah.
It's more of like noticing God in your immediate area around you, and then connecting. Yes. And then over here, it's top down. We're connecting to
induction
God.
versus deduction.
Yeah, following that, and everything else lines up.
Yeah.
But it's just like different. We understand this better because it's what we know.
Yeah. And it's more comfortable. And two, like, our culture is geared to that. So whether you see it through Christianity or not, is built into, like, I don't know, your everyday walks of schools.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's built into those things. So when something else is different, you're like, that's wrong. We're like, well, no. Their whole society's built, and their religions is built on this.
Right.
So that's like the conflict. And ultimately, look, man, I'm not trying to be some universalism or whatever, but like, oh, fine. But it truly is the fact of, I've had to, it's a lot of going through. I mean, I've been through 7 freaking rehabilitations, and I've kind of been through some traumatic things in my life, right? And it a lot of that, it had to shake me to my core of what I believed, why I believed it,
Yeah.
And when people start confronting you with like, yeah, why do you believe that?
Yeah.
So who said you believe? Like, and they're not trying to convince you otherwise, but people start getting offended and they start getting defensive, of like, hey, why do you believe that, man?
Yeah.
Like, tell me, like, you think that's a good idea? Like, you can't, and it's like, they're not coming at you in a, I don't know, disagreeable way. They're like, man, like, defend your, like, you just believe it because you believe it?
Right.
Like, come on, man, like.
Yeah.
You have to me, I need a little bit better explanation. Like, yeah, dude, I believe it because I think that's right. Well, why do you think that's right, man?
Yeah.
Well, because this and this, and I did this over time and time. I'm like, okay, now we're, now we're getting, I'm like, I don't know, dude. It's just what freaking Brother Bill says.
What I grew up on.
What I grew up with. I'm like, man, like, I get it, man, and that's okay, but like, come on, buddy. You can't like sit there and have an opinion about something else if you don't really even know where you stand.
Yeah, and a lot of it's like the game telephone too. I mean, people just hear it from someone and hear it from someone and hear it from someone, and it gets through, and it's like, okay, now it's just completely different than the original thing was because you heard it from your uncle, and your uncle heard it from whoever, and no one actually puts the time in to study and realize where these lessons are coming from.
Yep.
And two, I want to talk about this, and we've talked about it a few times, man, is, we're not philosophers or some critical thinkers here, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're just really kind of shooting the shit. But I know in my life, we've sat here and we'll talk about something and I really want to change. But ultimately, all I'm doing is talking, right? Because none of this means shit if you don't start really putting in the work, right? You can say you want to be sober. You can say I want to be a better father. I can be a friend or whatever it is you want to be better at.
Right.
But until you start doing that day to day, not one or two times, but make a commitment and say, look, I don't care how tired I am. Yeah. This is what I'm going to do, bro. I want to be healthier. I don't give a shit how tired I am. If I work 12 hours today, I'm going to the gym. It might only be for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm making that commitment to. That's what I'm saying. I promised myself I would do this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Right? And when things get hard, I'm still going to do this. When nobody's watching, I'm still going to do this. When I don't want to, when I don't feel like doing this, I'm still going to do this, man.
Yeah.
And it's not to show other people. Ultimately, it's to show myself, who I am. Because so many times I would look at situations, and I'm not trying to compare myself to other people's situations, but you look at other people like, I want what they have.
Yeah.
I want what they have, or I want to be better at this than where I'm at now. And making that change in my life to better suit where I'm at in my life, to myself, not to really prove it to anybody else. Because at the end of the day, this is what I really truly believe. And I'm not saying this, I humbly say this, is when you can take the numbers in a bank account away, you can take this sick house away, you can take the cars, you can take all this stuff away, but I'm still going to eat.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I have that in me. And I know that when I look at another man, and I guess that's just me playing sports and stuff. You know what I mean? I look at another man saying like, bro, if me and you in a jail cell and one plate slides up under that freaking door, I know I'm going to eat, bro.
Right. But you don't. I mean, you really don't. You can say that with confidence, but you really don't
know.
You don't know if you're going to fall asleep and they're going to slit your throat. You don't know if they're going to dig your eye out. You know what I mean? Like, you can say these things, but until you've actually been in these situations, you really don't have an idea about it.
You know?
Yeah. And that's just honesty.
Yeah.
You don't know how depraved people can get for real.
Yeah.
And, like, how many people live in that situation constantly, And it's like, it's good to feel that. Of course you have to feel that. Like, you want to know you're going to win no matter what the odds are. Because
no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying you have to have that I'm going to win mentality.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will lose. No matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, when you're in the, like, man, hey, I know that I'm putting in the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know things are going to be okay.
Right.
You know, because you can take all this stuff away from me, and I'm still going to be okay.
I'm still going to do what it
because
takes.
I learned the hustle. You can't take that hustle from me.
Right.
You can't take those experiences from me.
Right.
You can't take when everybody packed their stuff up and went home. I was still, you know what I mean?
Right.
I was still in here. I know it sounds
I'm going
like
to do what it takes, no matter what that is.
and whatever that is. It just we'll have to figure it out when I get there. Like
Right.
quitting's not the option. I'm not going to quit, man. I'll die for this at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, figuratively. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'll die to myself and my wants and
Yeah.
these things, my desires.
Yeah.
But I just believe like there comes a time when you're giving all this stuff away, when you start just operating, and those things start coming back. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. You know, and people are like, "Oh, how'd you get that?" I'm like, bro, I just work.
Yeah.
They're like, well, how do you like? I'm like, bro, I put in X
Yeah.
amount of time
Yeah.
when everybody else did this, you know, and but I don't know when it flips, dude. Some people it's 20 years. It could be a year. I don't know. You have a fluke. Somebody does it one time and they're gone. But it's just consistency beats that, man.
Yes.
10 out of 10
Consistency
times.
always does.
And not quitting, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's realizing no matter what the situation was, whether it's good or bad, you created the situation for yourself. Like when I got T-boned on my motorcycle by a truck a month and a half ago, right? Like maybe 60 seconds beforehand, I didn't really have control over that. But an hour beforehand, you know, a day beforehand, like I put myself in these positions irresponsibly, even if it was slight things. A month beforehand, you know, there was things that happened that I could have changed that would not have put me in such a situation. And I controlled it. I attracted that to myself. It's like taking full responsibility, free will. They say God gives you free will. And it's like the devil wants you to think you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like free will is what we have for real. And I believe accepting full free will, you know, fully controlling. I controlled my whole life. I always control what's happening to me. Fully accepting that is the only way to like actually do anything for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is easy to get in that mindset of like, woe is me.
Yeah. Or this just happened to me.
This just happened
I
to me.
didn't have a choice. I had to do it.
I had to do it. Like, man, that situation, maybe you didn't have a choice, but you have a choice now, like how you're going to react.
Yeah.
Like,
you always have a choice.
yeah.
You always have a choice.
Like, come on, man. Like, let's go. Like, kind of, and I don't know. We talk about that sometimes, Holden. Like, I get it, man. Like, shit sucks sometimes, and people are dealt shitty hands. But like, I'm not gonna sit there and freaking listen to complaining, bro.
Right. Yeah. That's one thing.
I'm
for
just
sure.
not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this shit sucks, dude.
Yeah.
It sucks.
But you did this.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
and you're
come
gonna
on,
complain about it and
All right,
perpetuate.
you did this. All right, we get it. All right.
Yeah. What's next?
Yeah, let's go, bro.
Yeah.
You know, you can sit here and die, or can like just get defeated in this.
Yeah.
Or you can,
And that's really the coward's way out, the easy way out, to act like, oh, I had to do these things. I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just that's how I feel about it. It's black, and with that, to me, it's black and white.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I got you, man. But yeah, man, Holden's an OG on this channel, bro. He's been with us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, dude. Was it the third? I think we talked about earlier. It was the third episode. You came.
Yeah.
Are you feeling? Or you were behind the scenes doing the lights and the sound,
Yeah.
laying the audio before you got these new mics.
Yeah. Before you got the nice stuff.
Yeah, laying it and trying to sync up everything, man.
Yeah.
But man, I want to say, dude, I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you guys, man. I enjoy having these talks. You know, if there's anything I can do to help, you know, I'm there in spades. So
yeah, man. And but I'm just saying, like, we appreciate you coming, you know, taking the time to not only come down here, and but we just appreciate kind of off the camera, kind of how we get to hang out and just, I don't know, just be authentic.
Yeah.
And be real, man.
It's important.
Yeah. It's important to
Thanks,
me,
guys.
dude.
I really
And thanks
appreciate it.
for coming down here to Vestavia, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From up
Even
north a
with
little
all
bit.
your stuff, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But it's important too. It's like that's why I generally like. If I love you, dude, it's like you always you've had so much stuff going on, and I know, man. That's why like we were talking last night. It's like just sometimes as friends, man, we got to make sure we're okay. You know, that's why like I wasn't trying to get on like we're just sitting there and you know everything was quiet. I'm like, you okay? You know what I mean? Like sometimes we forget to ask people that. It's like you can't just like because we're as men too. We're like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's how I've been. I've told y'all. You know, it's like we've all. I mean, I've been in a funk too, man. You know, so it's like my situation. I'm not gonna say isn't as worse as yours, but like we can create those things to be as worse as one another. You know what I mean? Like our minds are just what we called it, the dragon, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you let those things, and I've been letting that eat me up.
Yeah.
You know, I've contained it, and I've thought you think you have
push it away, it's gonna come and get you.
You're like
you gotta know. I mean,
or you listen to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then you I take it as the addiction part is like I listened to that for so long, and now even with a sober mind and things that I have going on, it can still get me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like why am and people forget that.
Yeah.
It's getting comfortable, and it's like I've got this, and then all of a sudden you don't.
No,
and,
you don't have it, man.
You know, it's like, but any negative situation, you know, and where I was going with this is like, you know, it's I appreciate you because like you see so many people give up, you know, and I don't ever want to see that, and like that's why we Chris, man, and it's the same as for you, you know, we got you no matter what.
Yeah.
But that's the friendship part. Those are the bonds that we have to have with people because you gotta have that, dude. Like you can't just do it alone. You know what I mean? Like once you feel alone, dude, that's when people
that's done.
You're gone, dude.
You know, I appreciate that because like as a stranger in a strange land, for real, like I'm somewhere where I had no family, I had no friends. You know, and then recently I got my health taken from me. You know, obviously I put myself in the situation, but still, man, happened like that. Suddenly I'm like an old man, weak, can barely walk. And like it's to have people around you that aren't just gonna be a fair weather friend and just turn on you the second you're going through a rough patch. You know? Like a lot of the people that we met together are those people to me. You know? And they're out of my life for good reason.
Yeah.
But like I can still explain things to you like, yo, I'm going through this, and this, and it's like I'm not giving up though. I don't have that option. You know what I mean? I don't have any fallback option, and I have to work through it. But it's like. I really appreciate that too. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, buddy.
For real.
I love you, man.
Love you guys.
Yeah, dog. Love you, man. Hey, guys. Appreciate y'all checking us out, man. Show holds some love, all right?
Thanks.